if you really want to spend your next 5 years or 10 years on something, you should muster a bit of the courage. So my first reaction is always that I'm not good enough. So whenever someone tells me anything, I know they probably love me and care about me, and that's why they're saying it. But the first reaction is like, what I'm hearing is, okay, I'm not good enough. Values, extremely important. So values is your biggest filter in getting people in and getting people also out.
Hello, Recursive community. My name is Irina Bushtarova, and I'm joining you today from lively Bucharest. Our next guest is a firm believer in technology for greater good. Sebastian Gabor is building an AI-powered software product to enhance the veterinary care process. Together with his partner, Ruxandra Pui, he developed Digitail, an all-in-one operating system for animal hospitals designed to improve efficiencies and provide modern experience to veterinary teams, clients, and their pets. Launched in 2018, Digitail now serves more than 1,000 practices and 1 million pets worldwide. In 2023, Digitail closed an $11 million Series A round, funded and led by Atomico. Apart from being a dynamic entrepreneur, Sebastian is also a co-founder of Code for Romania, a non-profit that unites developers to offer tech solutions to social challenges. Sebastian is also an endurance athlete and a 3-time Ironman. And we will definitely talk about this part of your life as well. Sebastian, it's a great pleasure to have you here in the Recursive podcast.
It's great to be here.
Usually I try to bring my guests a bit in time so that we can also share the story behind your success, the story behind the story and how it all started. The software agency, IT Gambit,
Yep.
Was that your first venture?
You could say that was the first official venture, yes.
Okay, tell me about the first one.
The first one?
Yeah, the entrepreneurial mindset. Where was it born?
Okay, so I guess this goes way, way, way back. We need to go to 1998.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
You were
I was
born.
80. Yeah, I was born. I'll take that as a compliment. No, so eight years old. My parents had a retail wholesaler for pharma.
So your parents were entrepreneurs themselves?
Yes.
I guess that brings a lot.
Yeah, my mom was a doctor. Dad was an engineer.
Oh, wow.
They practiced for a bit, and then they started this wholesaler for pharma in the human space.
Okay.
So working with a lot of pharmacies, and it was, again, a nice period of my childhood. Mm-hmm. But
Did you see the ups and the downs?
Yes, heavily ups and downs. So from that point, we'll go back to the entrepreneurial story, but from that perspective is, throughout my early childhood, they were buying every gift that I wanted. So again, really lucky as a kid. Mm-hmm. But then getting closer to 2000, the business wasn't going great. It was becoming highly politicized. It was a tough environment, and they went bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
And I remember I had a jar of pennies, pennies that we saved over time, and they actually used it to buy food one day and things like this. So it wasn't that great as the second part of growing up.
But I guess it's a very real-world example for how to be an entrepreneur. Wow, okay.
Yeah, but it's different now being an entrepreneur where fails like that is a learning experience versus what it was then that you couldn't get back up that easily.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Not so much in Europe. I mean, I think you still get stigmatized.
A lot, yeah.
A lot, and especially in our region. But I thank you for mentioning that, because I think we still have a lot to do when it comes to dealing with failures and how we perceive that.
Yeah.
And they managed to revive the business afterwards?
No way, no.
Oh, wow. Okay. How traumatic was that for you?
Less for me, because I think somehow it empowered me to stand up a bit fast, accelerated maturity. But for them, it was a lot more difficult.
And was that also the motivation of why you decided that you should, have your own venture, have your own way of maybe doing?
No, absolutely. Yeah. So, maybe there's an impact that I'm not seeing. Again, need to go more to therapy to find that out. But basically, growing up, I was a bit nosy all the time. So again, trying to do a lot of things. And because they didn't have time, I had to find things to do. Mm-hmm. So one example was that when they were taking me to the office, they didn't have really a lot of time. So they were letting me to stay with a neighbor that was nearby. Yeah. And that neighbor was basically a pawn shop that I didn't know what a pawn shop is. So for me, it was the nice Mr. next door. So good experience. And he had a computer and he had to print receipts every time someone was coming in, but he had nothing to do with computers. So me, 8-year-old, I was like, no problem. I'm typing in things. So I started typing in things, and he was paying me like 10 cents for every receipt that I was
Oh, that's actually a great business model.
Great business model.
Very much actually success-oriented.
Yeah, they didn't have that many clients though, but it was a good experience.
Great.
Yeah.
Tell me about the first venture then.
Okay, so this was again more like child's play. Then growing up, I thought I can make an easy buck with. Do you remember East Bay? I don't know if you had this
of course,
East Bay.
Yeah.
So East Bay was our chance to get cool Snickers in Romania, and I had my own supplier of Snickers.
Yeah.
But then a friend found out about that, and he also wanted shoes. So then I said, no problem, I'll get you some. Told him a bit higher markup price.
Yeah.
Chose them from a couple of photos. Went to my supplier. I said, hey, I need these ones. He said, you need to pay. I said, well, sorry, but no money yet. So he gave me on like a credit.
Wow.
To get them. Went to the meeting point. He wasn't a friend. He was a friend of a friend. We met, and he said, well, Sebastian, they look good, but I need to try them. So I said, cool, let's have you try them. And it was in a public area, somewhere a bit in a somehow dodgy area of the city. So he tries them on. He's like, okay, this feels good. And he just runs away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was business 101. Don't give trials to your client.
And what did you do with the credit?
I had to pay.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
So business stuff sometimes.
It is. But it's actually also a great lesson.
Super great lesson. But now getting serious. Went to university, business school. That was the period where, again, my parents had enough money to send me off to the school, but I had to take care of rent, of everything that was happening.
Where did you study?
In Barcelona.
In Barcelona.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super nice place to study.
I mean, it's actually also famous for its Erasmus and, the student environment.
Agree.
Yeah.
This was a bit, again, being a business school, everything was in English, was a bit outside of the, let's say, Spanish school system. But again, it was a really amazing experience for networking. I would highly do it again just for the networking part.
I was just wondering if it was actually also good for studying, but I guess not.
No. Definitely a lot of partying happening.
Yeah, okay. And what happened after?
So after, came back to Romania. And in Romania started an event agency. I mean, I wouldn't call it an agency. We're just organizing events.
It is an event agency.
for social events. The largest one was 500 people.
Wow. Okay.
That was fun. And I remember that I had some like stomach pains during the event because I was like, okay, we need to sell the tickets. What's going to happen to them? So that was fun.
It's one of the most stressful industries, by the way.
I can relate now. Yeah. I can understand. The second one was sports events because, again, at that time in the city, no one was actually doing tournaments or anything. So like, let's get people have a more healthier life. And the other one was charity events, which was super, super nice.
Okay.
So basically cultural events, getting people, like all the tickets were donated and trying to do that. So those were, again, super, super nice. But then at some point, a friend calls me and he's like, Sebastian, you're from Romania, right? I said, yeah, you know me. You do a lot of development there. And I said, yes, that's true. Then can you help me build an app? I was like, I don't know anything about it. Maybe I know a couple of people in the industry. I said, yes, this is the right thing to do. And that's how IT Gambit started. So that was the first official business.
Why did you call it IT Gambit?
I was playing chess.
Oh, okay.
And Gambit is the move that ensures you to have the ultimate winning position.
I think Netflix made sure that we all know what a Gambit is. Cool. Okay. And when did you feel like IT Gambit is actually really making it?
Definitely not in the first years.
How did you find clients?
Word of mouth. A lot of word of mouth.
Okay.
At that time, again, I had no idea. I even though I went to a business school, I should have known a bit better, but I had really no idea how to manage things. So we were lucky that, again, we were getting word of mouth, getting more clients. And it was a balance of getting more people, getting more clients, but also cash flow wise, there was no money. So we had to. Business, yeah. It's service business with actually no capital at the beginning. So that was a bit the trickier part.
What did you learn from that experience?
That it's amazing to build products, but in the moment it becomes a service business where you just need to do what the client tells you. Yeah. It's not necessarily something that you get a lot of impact from it.
What did you learn about differentiation? Because in these years, Romania was already a famous outsourcing destination. So I can actually imagine that there were a lot of IT consultancies and service companies that were providing any kind of development to the West.
Yeah. I think Ogilvy, the advertising guru, he has a nice quote with, in good establishments, promises are kept regardless of cost or overtime. And that was something, again, I clicked that, but I found about it recently. But at that time, I think what we learned is that what the clients need is super important. So the whole idea is not to listen to what they say, but to understand where they're coming from and what they actually need. And that was the approach on how we were a bit differentiating ourselves from the rest, because we didn't care about, we did care about all the architecture and all development of the actual apps and websites, but more importantly was it hitting the mark with what they needed, not what they were saying. So we were becoming basically a business consultant for the clients.
Yeah. What about leadership? How many people did you have back then?
So we got close to, at peaks with contractors and everything, close to 100, majority of the time 50. A lot of people, but I think the most painful part was the first early years, where basically in the moment so the company will fall down to the lowest bar you keep, or the lowest, let's say, person you tolerate. And that was the harsh lesson, in which I went through a journey where amazing people that were there, they all dropped the level of what they were doing to the smallest denominator. And that was one of the harshest times, and we had to rechange a lot of things.
How did you facilitate this change process? I guess, when you do that for the first time, sometimes, in my case, I have a lot of blind spots. Like, you know that something is not working, but you don't know what that is because you haven't done it before. And this is where, in my opinion, the exchange with other entrepreneurs comes in. And it becomes super valuable because some of them are a couple of steps further and they know, we had this and we solved it this way. How did you manage to transition?
At that time, it was a bit just doing step by step and trying to achieve some goals. This lesson I've learned now in the recent years, where indeed what you were saying super true is you only know what good looks like after you see it in action. And for that, what I've been doing is just talking with as many people as I can from different roles, different industries, to be able to have reference points of what is someone that's actually amazing in their role.
Because you also didn't have much experience being employed in an organization where, you would have all the processes and maybe most of the stuff work. Although being an employee in an organization that doesn't work also helps to say, okay, this is not what I want to have. Okay. Were you ever employed in your life?
Yes.
Okay. What is the longest period?
That was only once. It was close to 6 months.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. I made it. But it was an insightful experience. I learned a couple of things that work and also a couple of things that should avoid.
Yeah. What happened with IT Gambit afterwards?
So IT Gambit, we ended up building over 100 products throughout that time. So it was 2011, 2017.
Wow.
So it was a lot of building. But during that time, always tried new challenges or basically trying our own startups. You have this trend in basically these development shops that you have some time on your hand and you try to build something. We went through the same journey of trying to build something.
So productizing from a service business.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's tricky. I want to know more about that.
That term wasn't back then. We're just like, let's build something.
Well, I'm the journalist. I'm supposed to have the terms.
And then what happened was, so the first startup was Colegu, which was Waze basically, before Waze got to Eastern Europe. And it was an insane journey because we ended up growing to 200,000 users in less than 2 weeks, which is like massive, super fast growth. But the problem was that we were just spending time on Colegu whenever we had a couple of moments between projects, and we weren't fully dedicated to that. And do you know how much time we needed to lose all those 200,000 users?
A month?
Close. 2 days.
Oh, that's crazy.
Because the server started crashing and they were going on because the usage was insane. So every driver was throughout the entire journey, like while driving, they were using it. but they were going in and the platform was crashing. We had a literal server in the office, no AWS or early days. And yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't get back up after that.
You couldn't?
No. I mean, we did, but it was a plateauing thing. And
did you calculate at some point the investment that you did?
In time? No.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is what we hear. And I can also speak from experience because we also tried experimenting a bit more with tech-enabled ideas that we would have for the Recursive. When you have a service business, it's just impossible to do it on the side because your cash cow is somewhere else.
Exactly.
And it's always the priority. I mean, this is what a business... Exactly. This is what the business is about. You should be there for the customers. And somehow innovation and experiments, they always stay on the back.
Yep.
And you have to have more or less the management or the leadership team involved, which usually are those with the scarce time resources. So at some point it was just impossible. We were trying to juggle that, but we never really could commit to the project.
Yeah, I know that's really difficult. And then the second problem is that if you actually want to start fundraising for that, so basically you're going out to investors, and this is something that I think I'm quite passionate about this topic because I see a lot of people that say, no, I'll go out fundraise and everything will be okay. But how will you convince an investor that they should put their own money into your business while you don't trust your business enough to jump the ship?
Exactly.
And it's all about the signals that you give by what you're doing.
No, investors are very well informed of how difficult this game is. So I mean, they would expect to have a team that is fully committed, even if it's not the original CEO or founder. He should be or she should be able to build a new team that is going to be fully committed to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And think even of the people that join.
But did you do it right then on the, I don't know, second?
No, absolutely not. So, so in the first one, learned that, okay, if there's a moment when it starts, like we really want to commit, I need to commit. That was the thing I took from Collego. And then the next one was Cocomanda, which was a food delivery app. And that one, again, it was before all the food pandas and everything else that was in Romania. And we grew to 2 cities. We got almost 90% of the restaurants in the cities.
In Iași?
In Iași, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So massive adoption on the B2B side. And that was the moment when, okay, let's jump ship, ready to do it. But unfortunately, at that time, that was a lesson on co-founding teams, is that you need to basically do this with someone that has the same vision, is in the same stage fit where you are. Because if not, there you have a gap on how much time investment people do. It's different speed gears, and then there's a lot of frustrations happening. So unfortunately, exited out of that one and let it grow with the other co-founder.
Okay. And did you manage to scale out of Iași with the app?
With Cocomanda, 2 cities. So we also grew in Constanța.
Oh, cool.
We chose the next to the seaside type of city.
Yeah, that's actually also an interesting location. But what was happening in Bucharest around the time? Did you already have, I don't know, like the other food pandas and...
There was Oliviera, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That was already in Bucharest.
So that was your
growing.
only competitor, basically, in Romania.
It started off from Bucharest, and we were taking, let's say, a bit of the
And what happened
Bucharest.
with the company afterwards?
I don't have all the details, but I know Oliviera, if I'm not mistaken, got bought by Foodpanda or by another one from Bulgaria, because Bulgaria also had a good food delivery app at that time.
Big Menu, maybe. I need
before.
to check. That was before I came back to the region, Okay.
And it might have been that either it fizzled out or there was some exchange of contracts with Oliviera, but again, I don't know.
Okay. Cool journey. So you had all these lessons packed in your luggage.
Yeah.
When did it go off with Digitail?
So Digitail, now we're getting closer to 2018.
Yeah.
As part of IT Gambit, there was a moment when we had a client that was a vaccine producer in the vet space. And throughout that experience, I got a chance to see almost 50 clinics live, how they're working. So the workflow of 50 animal hospitals. And that experience was super insightful.
Are you a pet lover as well?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have to have a business in this space?
I would say no. I don't think you have to.
Yeah.
But you're spending more than 10 hours a day on this.
Yeah.
You'd better love what you're doing.
Of course.
And now, unfortunately, with traveling, it's super hard to.
Yeah, I will. Yeah,
we'll get
to that. You have this nomadic lifestyle right now, which I totally respect. I find it very inspiring, but it is impossible to have a pet.
Yeah,
it's impossible for me to have a pet, and I'm just only second week traveling somewhere. Okay. Okay, so you observed the processes that were happening in the veterinary clinics.
Yeah.
And you saw, okay, this is something that can be optimized?
Yeah, I'll share two stories that I think are super relevant.
Go.
One is, that was with a clinic in Romania. We got in and someone comes for a vaccine appointment. And vaccine appointments, if you know, they're like under 5 minutes. It's like in and out.
I to be honest,
anyway,
don't know.
Super quick, in and out, all done.
Yeah.
And then I saw the vet spending almost close to 10 minutes after the visit, writing the same information in 10 different reports.
Wow.
Manually, physically, with their phone, with their like hand.
Yeah.
And it was what was more frustrating is that it was 80% the same information, patient name, patient details, pet parent name, all of that, plus just the vaccine, or plus the date, or plus something. So it was really redundancy at its best.
Yeah.
So that was one. The second one was with a clinic in the US, where the patient came in. It was a dog with a broken leg coming in for a recheck. But the pet parent came, dropped the dog off, and didn't leave the medical records because they were coming from another clinic.
Yeah.
The appointment was supposed to take 20 minutes, and they spent 3 people 40 minutes to call the previous clinic, call the pet parent, just to get the information.
And everything is, I don't know, like in written form, nothing is digitized from the health records of the pets.
In the US, it was a bit different because they started having they had systems, but really old systems, and data sharing, nothing was happening. And this is happening in an industry where the vets, I have to say, like initially I was coming with different opinion, but they're hardworking. There's not enough vets.
I was just about to ask you, from what I know, it's actually they're very scarce.
Super, yeah. There's supposed to be 30,000 vets missing from the industry, and there's 100,000 in total in the US.
Wow, okay.
So, and if you go now to book an appointment, even now, you still need to wait 4 to 6 weeks as a pet parent.
Wow, okay. That's harsh.
Yeah. And that's why, like, there are people that really love what they're doing. They're in it for actually the pets. And I'd recommend for everyone watching, there's a really good TED Talk called The Emotional Cost of Euthanasia. After you see this, you're going to understand a bit more what's happening.
But you're speaking of pets. What about, I don't know, farms and ranches that, I mean, they actually are in need of a veterinary all the time, right?
Correct. And we'd love to help that part, but we're focusing and keeping as possible. Thank you, Eric Rice, for your book, wherever you are. But again, Lean Startup, a really good book that tells you all of that. So instead of doing that, we actually ended up building a big chunk of the system. And instead of actually spending time with clients, we just thought, oh, we know the workflows, we're going to build what we think they need.
Okay. And how would you do it instead today?
Heck no, just go to 10 clients, build a group of clients that want what you want to build, or, well, what you're seeing as a problem, and build with them. Easy.
I think we're still adopting this kind of mindset here. I think we have really great engineering talent.
Yep.
But we're so afraid to talk to potential customers and clients, and we try to make this product like perfect up until the moment where we're a bit too late to get the feedback from the market. And sometimes we just develop we develop something that yeah, I mean, it could be perfect in its own way, but it's not really solving the problem of the customers.
Totally agree.
Okay.
And this is probably, again, maybe we're a bit shy, maybe there's a lot of reasons there, but if you really want to spend your next 5 years or 10 years on something, you should muster a bit of the courage to go and talk with your clients.
So you mentioned that you go to the therapist, and this is why I'm just going to dive a bit into the psychology of, receiving feedback. I don't know, like months ago, someone told me that giving feedback is a skill set, but also receiving feedback is a skill set. It's not something that you're born with. So how did you overcome this psychological, or actually this fear of getting crushed by negative feedback?
Tough one. Because I also had, so my first reaction is always that I'm not good enough. So whenever someone tells me anything, I know they probably love me and care about me, and that's why they're saying it. But the first reaction is like, what I'm hearing is, okay, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to bounce back from that. But now I shift my focus on a couple of things. I focus on the fact that if they do tell me this, it means they care. So I focus on the good, positive. Okay, they care. It means we're in this together and it's a nice journey. Second is that I want so much to be the best person I can for this to happen. And there's so many people that count on me to be better. And that's what's pushing me to actually make the step. So I'm just focusing on the other things too.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Any other great mistakes that led you to great lessons?
Well, let's see. So early days, so that was with building the product without the clients. Then it was a bit, I wouldn't call, maybe. At the beginning, we did a lot of overpromising.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
I have no idea yet. It depends on the stage. Like right now at our stage, we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So right now, because it's already a brand out there, there's a lot of other things. What we say, we need to deliver. But at the beginning, you don't have the resources to deliver, and you're trying to build a customer base somehow, or people to trust you. I would do it differently now, but at that time, it was the only thing that we could see working.
And you were living in the States back?
No, Romania.
In Romania?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But you were still selling to American customers?
No.
No.
No. So initially we started in Romania. We had this ambition to make something really big, but we didn't think really global from day one.
Oh.
So when I think of startups, it's like actually like swimming in the ocean.
Yeah.
If there's a super cool analogy, like when you're in the ocean, you set your eyes on an island somewhere, and you start like swim. Then you go out, calibrate, put your head back, swim. And this is basically startups. But we didn't see the island. We just knew directionally that there's an island in one area.
You were hoping that
we were hoping there's an island. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
And that's how we started. So we went towards one direction, and that was Romania. So at the beginning, it was okay. Let's build. And barely after second year, we ended up having clients inbounding from 16 plus countries.
Wow. Who were your first investors?
First investors, that was 2019. We went to an accelerator in Sweden, Fast Track Malmo. Amazing experience.
Yeah. Together with Ruxandra?
Yeah.
Tell me about Ruxandra. How did
Ruxandra.
you? Because you had the experience of being in a founding team that wasn't completely aligned. So I guess this time you chose in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ruxandra. So we haven't killed each other after 3 startups already.
Oh wow.
And a lot of time spent together. So super grateful to be on the same journey with her. But this journey started in 2013 when she was an intern at IT Gambit.
An intern.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was becoming a software engineer, learning, doing the university. She joined, and she actually joined directly on Cocomanda, the food delivery app. And if you can imagine a developer that said, I want to go to client meetings.
Love these guys. Gross.
Yeah, like, okay, let's go. And she was coming to the meetings with an agenda, super organized, taking all the notes, then going back, building, then going, like, awesome experience.
Yeah.
And that was the first time started working with Ruxandra. Then after she left, finished her uni, went to do a couple of other startups. And after that, she did the Procter & Gamble experience.
Okay.
Which then she saw a bit of how the corporate life works.
So she's the one who actually knows how, big systems function and what processes are.
Yes, and how painful sometimes they are.
How painful they could be, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was spending time on the phone with her then, and she was just telling me that the manager came in, told me to just read some files, and that's it, and that's my week. Okay, thanks.
Well, it leaves you some time to, experiment with a new startup, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I think there's a magical synergy here because she's really organized, detail-oriented. She makes things happen. She's the classical integrator, while I'm the visionary somewhere up and just thinking about where should we go next. And yeah.
Yeah, being complementary in a founding team is actually great. Sometimes a bit romantic, I think, because then you still need to deal with these differences also on a daily basis. And sometimes it's, you always do it like this, and then you always do it. How did you overcome this? Being different and, still manage to get along.
I guess.
So long.
Well, I guess there was some emotional maturity there and understanding, okay, it's fine that they do things differently because you actually need people to do things differently. And you don't need everyone to be like you and do things like you because if everyone would be like me in the team, we would just talk all the time.
Yeah.
And maybe talk with clients and that's it. But we wouldn't have a product to sell or we wouldn't actually solve problems. And same the other way around. Maybe if they're just super organized, you get stuck in details and you don't end up building something that works. So it's always about having that balance between things and thinking about the other person, what they need to actually perform.
It's very difficult to appreciate the being different of the other person. I'm going to come back to that. I just want to know, where is Digitail today?
Well, as clients, as company, I'll tell you all.
Tell me all.
Tell me all. So we're close to 60 plus people.
They're based mostly in Romania, I guess?
No, we're based in, so product team is mostly in Romania, plus minus a couple of time zones around Romania. We're fully distributed.
Oh, cool.
Then we have our ops and people team in UK. We have an amazing team in South Africa.
Cool.
And most of the client-facing team is North America, so US and Canada.
Yeah. How did you get to South Africa? That's a bit of an exotic destination for someone who, has started their business in Romania.
It was a bit of a blind spot initially because I wasn't aware of the market and the potential.
Yeah, I'm also not.
But basically it was a combination of we started getting a lot of clients from South Africa. And throughout that process, I ended up talking with this amazing now colleague of ours, Jackie, that was working with a conference organizer for vets in South Africa. That's how we got connected. And then she became our country manager.
Atomico is also quite an achievement, I think.
Yep.
Of course, an investment is not really, it's more like a sign of trust and then the real work starts. So how difficult was it for you to reach out to them and, to convince them?
It was a process. So there were a lot of learnings in fundraising from the seed round and pre-seed round and everything else. With Atomico in particular, we were already building a relationship with them months before.
Yeah.
And then when we started fundraising, it was again a process that we were running and we went
How many potential investors did you talk to when you were doing the Series A?
For the Series A, not that many because everything happened even before we ended up starting the process.
Yeah.
Again, we were in a really good situation, like numbers-wise, we were growing really, really well. Again, business fundamentals for fundraising today, I think they're really, really important. Regardless of the story and all the relationships you're building, I think investors are a lot more focused now on numbers, profitability, and the business.
2023 for sure. Yeah. 2021, I'm not so sure.
A bit different. But we with our fundraising, we catch the last train.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. You were just before the tables turn.
Yeah, by far not. So when we did the fundraise, it wasn't in the jolly good times of...
I think it started already in January 2023. We were sensing it because we were waiting for a couple of scale-ups to close their rounds and maybe have the unicorn valuation. And we were like, okay, who's going to be the next unicorn in Bulgaria? And then...
everything started.
It was silent.
Exactly.
And since then, we also don't know what is happening in the ecosystem because now you have these bridge rounds, which are not really public. No one is or down rounds. No one
Yep.
is talking about it. And it's like, where are we now? Like, I mean, where are the valuations? Who is fundraising? Who is going to be the next star? We don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were building the relationship already before that, I guess.
Building a relationship. Before that, we were getting ready to start, again, the actual fundraising process, because I'm saying, like, fundraising exactly like a sales process. You need to follow it step by step.
Yeah.
And before we started taking meetings with all the investors, we had a couple of meetings before that. Atomico was one of them, and a couple of other ones that we ended up talking.
Was there someone who was guiding you through the process of Series A funding? Because it is quite difficult than seed. I mean, you don't go with a pitch deck, you go with an Excel, basically.
Agree. Our existing investors were amazing.
Okay.
With that one.
Let's give them a shout out.
Big shout out for Buy Founder Sarah.
Thank you.
So Buy Founders, Google AI with Gradient, Partech with Roman. So just amazing people that were always on our side and supportive to help.
Cool. What's next? What's the next island?
Next island.
Yeah.
So now we're building the team, building the leadership team. That's an important piece of actual growth on the long run. We're growing fast in the US. So we're in 5 out of the top 20 largest vet groups.
Wow.
In the US. And again, we started in the US just 2 years ago. So 2021 was the year when we actually started focusing on the US. And that was also a painful moment.
Yeah.
So we got the seed round, and then we decided together with investors to pivot all the focus from the existing countries where we were to the US. So we scrapped.
Why the US is actually the attractive market for you right now?
I can talk about this for ages, but
Yes,
three big things. One is consumer spending there for pets, over $2,000 a year per pet. Second one is the difference in how much an animal hospital makes in the US versus UK versus Australia.
Okay.
And just the ranges are $3,000 per year, $500,000 to $600,000, more than $1 million. And that's a one vet practice.
Oh, okay.
That's
just pets. We're not talking about...
Just pets.
Okay.
So the scale is hugely different. And the third reason, which was the most important one, the timing in the market was then. Because 80% of the hospitals in the US, they still were on legacy old practice management systems. And something that this year happened, like the new statistics, the average age of your vet tech is lower than the average age of your practice management system.
Okay, that's an interesting...
So a vet tech is 32 years old now, the average in the US, and the systems are 33.
Okay.
So
there is a lot of room for digital transformation there.
Exactly.
I ask about this because sometimes I'm not sure that we know how to really analyze the potential markets for us. I think sometimes we're just going with the flow maybe, and we have this romantic ideas that if you just make it in the States, then okay, you're going to be like the big fish. And at the same time, it might turn out that numbers actually say a different game. And since founders not always invest in market research, or they don't really do it like diligently, that's why I wanted to know the background. But it totally makes sense.
And I totally agree with what you're saying with the market. So that was our 2020. That was the year when we started getting inbound from all these countries. We started working with a lot of vets. Again, 16 different countries. We understood like so much.
Yeah.
And after we got all that info, we started deciding where do we want to focus on.
And what about competitors?
They were important. I mean, it was important to know who were the competitors. For us, we broke the markets into two. Less competitive markets, which means they're only old systems, not really new players coming in and pushing. And markets where it's highly competitive.
Yeah.
US is highly competitive.
It is.
Now, the challenge is that we, at the moment in the US, we're the only independent practice management system. Most of the other systems have been acquired by insurance companies, pharma companies, diagnostic companies. So everyone that has another interest in their core business.
And I guess these companies, they would be pushing for taking a stake in Digitail as well. Yeah.
There were a lot of discussions.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have our eye set on IPO, so.
Yeah. Okay, so you're aiming for the IPO?
Yeah, there's a clear opportunity for us to get there. It's all about the execution that we do now in the next few years, because these markets, how they work, they're close to not monopoly, but you have like one or two big players that dominate the market.
Oligopoly.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
And basically, as long as you become one of those market share leaders, you'll have a big chunk of the market. So there's a tipping point that we're looking at to get. And we saw that behavior in other markets. So Romania was one of them. South Africa was one of them. So there's a tipping point. And once you get to a certain market share, you just like explode.
You mentioned that one of the big challenge, or not challenges, that the next big task that you have is building a leadership team. And I wanted to go back to the maturity, the personal or the emotional maturity that you have reached. I guess this is what's helping you now.
Yep.
I guess also because you have to let go of a lot of operational stuff, a lot of control, trust other people, maybe people who are not part of the organization so far, but they do have the more corporate experience and process experience. How do you deal with this situation right now? And yeah.
Okay, so this one is also a process that I would have loved to know more about a couple of years ago. Okay. But values, extremely important. So values is your biggest filter in getting people in and getting people also out. So that's something that actually needs to be an active exercise of finding out who you are, the co-founding team, what do you represent, what are the values that you care about, and then having the right language about that and then pushing that out there into the universe. And that's the main way you filter people. And then the second thing is understanding what great looks like, because you do get people in, but you don't know a lot of the times. Is this the best what a marketing person can do? Is this the best that someone can do? And you only can find out by getting great people or talking with great people and seeing how they behave. Like a super easy, small thing is that when I go into interviews and I hear people that talk hypothetically about things and they don't talk from experience, that's one quick insight into understanding if they actually have done the work and can raise the bar.
Okay, that's an interesting hack.
There's a lot more.
I was made aware of this mindset shift just recently, where a founder was actually speaking about the fact that sometimes, because we start small and we start from maybe even small markets, and that in the beginning we hire friends, basically, people who are in our immediate network. We're not looking necessarily for the best ones on the market or the great ones in the market. And there is also a certain moment where it's like we don't feel like we deserve the best ones. And for me, that was also the moment when I started realizing, or maybe I myself, as a person, I might not deserve the best ones because I do not consider myself as one of the best on the market, but I'm in the role of the CEO. So it is my company that deserves it. Because if I want to go this far, I would need the best people on the market.
Absolutely agree. And yes, and that's the journey, right? At the beginning, you can't even afford to get the best people out there. And you do start with whoever you have close and they love what you're doing. And that's how you build the first team.
And how do you feel when they ask for a bigger salary than yours?
Oh, that's totally fine.
Yeah. Because I think this is also something that we're not used to. But
one interesting thing that I learned from another founder was that startups are like a pyramid or like a triangle. Yeah. And you start at the beginning, you have just a couple of people that are in the head, like the top of the triangle, and then the startup grows really fast. And the whole idea is that they need to grow with the startup. And that's when you have the painful conversations, because some people, they might not want to do that. There's 100 reasons why that's not applicable for everyone. And that's fine. And that was something that I had to understand, that that's fine. Not everyone wants to dedicate so much time and work to things.
But how do you deal with those who are not good enough anymore?
Well, that's the thing. That's when you need to start having the harsh conversation. We were lucky that the culture that we had, the people that we started with, just amazing human beings, and we could have those conversations. Yeah. But every startup, I think they have those conversations. If they don't, it's maybe someone's not pushing the bar high enough.
Since we had a psychotherapist recently and a coach in the podcast who is actually working quite actively with founders, I made it a bit of my mission, to speak a bit more freely about it. And since you're also open-minded about it, I'm just going to ask you, how did therapy help you become a better leader?
Okay, let's see. So I do think every startup founder that's in a fast growth startup after maybe seed round is worth having therapy and also coaching.
Yeah.
Therapy was the part where it helped me understand a bit more how I am as a person. It's a bit more self-reflection, and that's again particular to me as a person. I just like fly through life, and I don't sit down to reflect that much. And that was a really helpful moment for me to start understanding what I do care about, what I don't care about, and that helped me then communicate a lot better to the team. Everything. Like one simple example was that I wasn't realizing this, but a lot of the people didn't know how to behave when I was there, because sometimes I'm super calm, and then suddenly I just like burst on a topic. But the reality is that I wanted to communicate a lot of things throughout this time when I was calm. I didn't. And then everything got accumulated and then kaboom. So I've started learning, but that was a combination of coaching and therapy. I started learning how to communicate that it doesn't hurt people when I just communicate my thoughts. So just communicate so that everything is calm and people know how to expect from me.
I can totally relate to that. I had the same problem, and it starts with boundaries and unhealthy, attitude to, healthy aggression. Sometimes you just need to hold your space and say, okay, this is my boundary, you don't go in. Because if you keep on waiting, at some point, it gets to the bone. And then you're like just volcano, and everyone is, where did this come from? And then the whole conversation is about you escalating and not about the problem anymore. So it's actually totally counterproductive. Blazing through life with flying colors. Ironman, 3 times already, and you're planning to go maybe next year again. This is a bit extreme, I have to say. I'm not even sure that it's healthy. I'm not sure what your therapist is saying about that. But tell me about Ironman. Why did you decide to do it? What aspect of your personality is actually bringing you to this extreme? Yeah.
So that was again 2014, if I remember, the first half Ironman that I did.
Yeah.
And I was coming from, again, I was a bit sporty, but I wasn't like really doing crazy sport
There is
activities.
Sports and there is Ironman.
But I was in Berlin at that time, saw it somewhere, and I said, okay, this is the thing. And what pushed me to it was that it was something that we perceived it to be really, really difficult, like a difficult challenge. And it was something that in my mind was, this is worthwhile. Because I somehow believe that the hardest challenges are the ones that are worthwhile.
Okay, and now let's talk about the expectation that you have. Okay, you were expecting this kind of gratification from, overcoming this challenge. When you did it?
No, absolutely not. And I think that was something that even from the first one, there are people that do this because they want to have bragging rights.
Okay.
And I am not that person. Like, you'll see that I'm not even to my closest friends. I'm just sending a photo of like, hey, this is what I'm doing now, FYI.
Yeah.
But I don't think you do it for others. I think you do it for yourself, and you do it for the moment. Now, I think I know where you're going, and that's totally true. You work your ass off for months to have one moment at the end.
Yeah.
But it's great to train that, delaying gratification.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing. You're delaying the gratification.
It's the marshmallows after,
But at the same time, if you're in a fast growth startup and you don't do sports, have replaced this with something that keeps your sanity. I wouldn't know how to do it. So for me, that training for Ironman was a way of keeping balance.
Okay.
For day-to-day activities.
Okay, you guessed my next question. How the two relate to each other. Is it about also being competitive in some way, or who do you compete against at Ironman?
In Ironman, you always compete against yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can't compete with the super pro athlete that's training 40 hours a week, because that's just a bit unfair. So you compete with basically how much time you put into and what you can get out of that. That's basically the competition. So for the full Ironman this year, I was training close to 14 hours a week.
14.
One four.
But don't you feel guilty that you're spending or investing so much time, and at the same time you have to probably also hustle a lot in the company?
No, because during the week, I was doing mostly shorter, so 1 hour runs or swims or bikes, which helps me either listen to podcasts, read books, like Audible's not reading a book and swimming,
of course.
Or just like mental sanity. Like the swimming part is the most meditative exercise that I could do. So that was helping there. And then during the weekend was more socializing. So getting your socializing goes.
How do you build your schedule? Because I guess, I don't know, do you start with the sports and then you go to or go to your laptop because you're actually working distributed and remotely? How do you schedule that? Because that's also has been the tricky one for me. I always put it in the calendar and then but I have such an urgent task to do right now. And I'm not sure if I'm procrastinating the sports or is it really because I'm so responsible towards the company.
Do you love doing sports in the morning or?
I can't really say. I'm not a routine person. That's the thing. I would love to have a less structured day. I would love to, I don't know, wake up and decide today I'm gonna do sports in the morning. Tomorrow I'm gonna do it in the evening. That's who I am. I'm sorry.
So for anyone listening, Atomic Habits. Probably know it. It's the book for building habits.
I know.
But I'm a morning person in that regards. I do sports mostly in the morning.
Wow.
So I just wake up. I try not to check my phone. And just go do it first. And I know it's really difficult. It took me, I think, 4 months to get to that point. Yeah. But no one's gonna die in that extra. Well, we're gonna see. But this goes back to it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And there's a point when you start having a lot more people in the team is that you're setting also an example. And you might not burn out as fast, but other people might. And you need to set an example that's also protective for the team.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Well, that's actually a great perspective to look at. Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm doing it right all the times, but like
because I remember, at some point my whole routine switched off because I was quite often on evening events and networking. That was my role, basically, to be out there.
Yep.
So I would be waking up at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. Yep. And when I see my phone, Slack is like, these guys are already there. And they've been working for at least an hour.
Yep.
And I woke up with the sense of guilt, like they're working and I'm not, I'm still sleeping.
Yeah,
and it is very difficult to hack. And then from that place, to say, and now I'm just going to go to the gym. It's hard to argue with yourself.
Yeah, there's maybe, so what helped me was that, yes, I'll do that because after the gym, I'll be twice as
productive.
Well, whatever, like 10%
or at least like in a better mood. That's true. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing your hacks with me as well. I guess this is why, we founders, we need to talk a bit more and to talk a bit more honestly about the stuff that work, that don't work, the hard lessons, and not just, I don't know, brag and pitch and sell.
Yeah. And I don't know so normally I always try to share as many as we can, like out of the learnings, the mistakes, and being open about things. And I don't know if I shared like before starting Digitail, exactly those like end of 2017, we were like already trying to build something.
Yeah.
I was spending so much time on TechCrunch and just like reading all the new things that were happening.
Tell me.
And it was so frustrating because basically if you read the headlines, you get a sense that all the world has been solved. All the problems are already done. All the startups have been already created. Everything is finalized. So then it really puts you down in trying to like, what's the purpose for me to do this, because already there's someone else doing it, and they're already successful and they conquered the world. But what we see there is just the marketing story of everything that's happening. It's not really the challenges that they have. It's not really the problems that they're going through. And at the end of the day, the company that will succeed is the company that solves all those problems.
And what would you like to see? Maybe at the Recursive, we can try to do it a bit differently, because I mean, I got this at some point, it all looks like success stories, and it's not only that all the challenges are solved, but everyone is doing so much better than you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the Facebook thing where you see everyone, traveling around, being in couples and in love, and you think, oh, my life is not like that. Anyway, so I guess media could play this role, but what kind of content would you love as a founder that is actually going to help you along the way?
Well, I think you're an amazing tribe because you're trying to get the story behind the story.
Yeah.
And not just what someone comes rehearsed and they're ready to pitch. Yeah. But it's more about like asking the question of like, what are the challenges, what's going through their lives, what's happening. Because another thing is that all these stories are relative to that it's subjective and relative to where you're coming from and where you're going.
Yeah.
But you can take maybe small things from each story and see how they apply to your life and then learn. While if you just see that someone's already successful.
But didn't TechCrunch help you also build this kind of like mindset for more global ambition? Or where did you got this? Because, sorry, I'm not being judgmental. It's just the reality. Being born and raised in Iași and in this part of the world, even though your parents are entrepreneurs, you're not necessarily thinking of, I'm going to conquer the US with a software product for pets.
So you're saying that Iași is not a global powerhouse?
I believe that it could be, but I don't think that we are there yet when it comes to mindset.
I'm kidding, absolutely. No, so raising there was more of a local, again, trying to do something big. I didn't have the definition of what big was.
Yeah.
And what changed for me, and I think also for Ruxandra and most of the team, was actually the Fast Track Malmo experience in Sweden. That was the eye-opener of, this is the world, this is how big it is, this is what you can do, and this is how you're going to do it. That was, in a nutshell, our experience.
Because of the mentors, because of other founders. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
The mentors were amazing. With founders, there were 7 other teams. We got along with Neurolabs. They're we were the only Romanians. And every night at 9:00, we were still there working and leaving and then meeting again in the morning. So we're just enjoying the experience.
Yeah.
It was basically the mentors that showed us that this is the world.
Wow. Okay. And if you have to think fast forward to the future, you mentioned IPO. How big is your ambition now? Tell me.
Well,
what do you aspire to?
I think what's keeping me going, and this would be relevant, is that we have a map of all the Digitail users in the world. And I think one frustrating thing about healthcare in general, not only pet care, is that if you take now a pet to any of those vets, most likely they will all apply different medical treatments. Because none of them actually communicate and see what's the best in class treatment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what we get a chance to do, again, fast forward 5 years and then we'll look backwards and, okay, this was worth it, is that we get a chance to build a system that can help vets actually apply all the time the best in class medical treatments and have all this learning from the ecosystem. And that's what we're aspiring to do. And I think you need a practice management system to build a core foundation for the industry to be able to do that. And the vets really want to do it. So we have great partners in this. Yeah. We are their partners because they're doing all the hard work, but they need the information at the tip of their fingers. They need to get more standardization in space. Right now, most likely they all call the same Chihuahua is called in 20 different ways because of misspelling and typos. And that was one of the challenges that we had to overcome to start standardizing data. And this happens in diagnoses, this happens in products and what's being used. So all of those things we get a chance to solve so that then the vets have a better chance of getting systems that can actually work for them and not they need to work for the system.
Well, I love your mission-driven thinking, even though at this stage.
But it became more at this stage, to be honest.
No? Okay.
Because at the beginning, we saw a problem that we wanted to solve, which was the workflow problem. Yeah. But then being more and more in the industry, you learn a lot more, you see a lot more, and then you understand where the industry can go.
Yeah, of course. Sebastian, I think we need to go back to how to web, because at the time of this recording, we are actually here in Bucharest for the conference. So in this place, I just want to thank you for the sincere interview, for the sincere conversation. Actually, it's not even an interview. It's just, we're just sitting here and talking like normal people. And I believe that we need to speak a bit more about the challenges that we face and make it visible that, we're down-to-earth people who are dealing with the same issues that, the next generation of founders who are just at the beginning are going to go through. And maybe we can make it a bit easier for them. Yeah?
Absolutely. Because we also got the same benefits from the generation before us that made life easier for us.
Exactly. Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing. It was a great conversation.
Same.
And if you're just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.